In this CLO 2025.0 New Features webinar, we will focus on major new features and improvements. In addition to the features introduced in the webinar, various updates are also included, so you can check out the new feature introduction page on the official website of CLO for more details. We have attached a link to our features page in the description, so please take a look at all the features of the new version. The CLO team is participating in real time, so if you have any questions about the new features, feel free to leave your questions in the live chat. The CLO team will provide answers directly in real time. The live chat window is only available if you're logged into YouTube, so please log in right now. Now, let's start the CLO 2025.0 New Features webinar. The new feature webinar will be introduced in the following order: Key features, UI, 2D, 3D, avatar, materials, editor mode, render, and CLO-SET. First up are the 9 key features included in this release. In this update, we're introducing a powerful new feature, AI Pose Generator. No more manually adjusting joints. Just enter a text prompt or upload an image, and the AI will automatically generate the pose for your avatar. It's fast, simple, and incredibly intuitive. If there's already an avatar or garment in your project, a pop-up will ask if you want to remove them. Before continuing, either start with a new project file or save your current work. With the prompt option, you can type in a desired description or select keywords to generate an image. With the image option, you can upload your own image file and generate a pose directly from it. Let's first take a look at the prompt method. The first option is gender. You can choose between female or male based on your preference. Next is the text prompt input field. Here, you can type a description of the pose you want to generate. On the right side, you'll find the keyword suggestion icon. Clicking this will show a list of recommended keywords you can select from. When you click on a keyword, it will be automatically added to the text prompt field. If you want to remove any of the keywords, simply click the Close button under the prompt box, or click the keyword suggestion icon again to deselect the chosen keywords. The AI pose generator creates a new image every time, even if you use the same prompt. However, if you activate the Maintain Prompt icon, it will try to keep the previous result as much as possible while updating it with the new prompt. The third icon is the Random Prompt option, which can be used when you're looking for inspiration or ideas. Once you've made all of your modifications, click this generator icon, and it will generate an image that fits the prompt. If you're happy with the results of the generated image, use the Generate button at the bottom of the window again to generate the image file into a pose. Then, after confirming the pose, click the Save button to save it as a pose file for use. In the History pane on the right, you can see the images you have generated so far. If you want to use them later in the Images tab, you can select the desired image and click the Save icon on the right to save the image file. First, we'll set the gender to male. Then in the text prompt, we'll select the keyword tennis. We're going to generate a pose of a tennis player. Here's the full prompt we'll use. A tennis player lunging sideways with a racket extended, showing speed and athletic tension. Once everything is ready, let's click the Generate button to create the image. If you want to make changes, you can either click the Clear Prompt icon to rewrite the prompt from scratch, or if you only need a slight adjustment, you can turn on the Maintain Prompt icon to update the prompt while keeping the current image as a base. Let's activate the Maintain Prompt icon and add a new phrase to modify the pose so the arm is raised higher. arm raised upward. Once the updated image reflects the pose you want, click the Generate button at the bottom of the window to convert the image into a pose. On the right side, you'll see the History panel, where you can review all previously generated images. When you're ready, click the Save button to export the current pose as a pose file. Click on the Image tab, and just like with the prompt method, you can choose the gender either female or male. Let's select female, and then click the Upload button to add the image you want to use. Once the image file has been successfully added, click the Generate button at the bottom of the window to convert the image into a pose. After finalizing the pose, go ahead and click the Save button to save it as a pose file. Close the AI Pose Generator window and open the project file where you want to apply the pose. Then go to the File, Open Pose folder, and select the pose file you just saved to apply it. With AI Pose Generator, you can easily create natural expressive poses, all from a single line of text or one reference image. Whether it's for lookbooks, fitting shots, or activewear, you can explore and create a variety of styling scenes with ease. The new feature added in this version is the Pattern Drafter. This feature allows users to create parametric patterns by either entering precise measurement values or by generating them based on a reference image of the desired pattern. As a result, users can quickly and accurately produce realistic patterns based on actual data. Let's take a closer look at how it works. First, let's create a pattern by directly entering the measurement values you already have. When creating a pattern, using the Pattern Drafter, it will be automatically arranged and sewn based on the loaded avatar. Therefore, we'll begin by loading an avatar first. Next, go to Main menu and 2D Pattern Drafter at the top of the screen and click to launch the tool. By default, the garment category is set to T-shirt. Currently, the Pattern Drafter only supports creating upper garment patterns for T-shirts. Please note that additional categories such as pants and skirts are planned for future development. This allows you to select the sleeve type for the T-shirt pattern. Currently, the following types are available set in: a standard sleeve style, where the sleeve is sewn along the shoulder seam; raglan, where the armhole line extends diagonally from the neckline; drop shoulder, a relaxed fit style where the shoulder seam is positioned lower than the natural shoulder line. Let's start by selecting the set-in type first. You will then see a list of all the methods with the measurements you need to create the pattern, with a drop-down menu at the bottom with General selected, and a ghost pattern will appear in the 2D pattern window with the measurements entered by default. In the Pattern Drafter, you can freely configure which measurement items to input for pattern creation. The drop-down menu provides two preset options, Simple and General, based on the selected pattern type from the higher level structure. These presets are designed around commonly used measurement sets for each type. The General preset includes a more detailed list of measurements, making it suitable when you have all the necessary dimensions available. It allows for more precise control, enabling you to input a wider range of values and fine-tune the pattern to better match your intended design. The Simple preset provides a simplified set of measurement items, requiring only a few basic values to generate a pattern based on actual data. It is especially useful for users who are creating a pattern for the first time, or when detailed measurements are not available. In addition to the preset Simple and General options, you can also customize the measurement items manually to fit your specific needs. Click Show All Measurement List. This will display the complete list of available measurements, including those that are hidden by default. You can also control which measurement items are active or inactive by clicking the Set Details icon located at the top right. Depending on how you activate or deactivate measurements, the way patterns are generated also changes. For activated items, users directly input values, and patterns are created based on those values. On the other hand, for deactivated items, appropriate values are calculated based on actual data without input values and are automatically reflected in the pattern. This means that even if you don't enter all the values yourself, you can still generate accurate patterns with minimal numbers. For example, in the current simple options, only total length is activated on the back body. Click on the measurement and adjust the value by moving the mouse scroll. Then you can see that the front length value is applied based on the back length value by disabling the value in the 2D pattern window and not directly moving the value. Let's click on the Set Details icon again and enable the front length value. Similarly, if you move the back total length, you can see that only the back total length value is modified and the front total length is reflected only when you directly modify the value. You can also see that the width-related values that are active only for the remaining front body and applied according to the actual pattern data based on the values entered for the front body. Also, if you have modified the measurement items yourself, unlike the simple and general that are provided by default, you can see that the name of the drop-down menu at the top has changed to Custom. Custom Mode is an option that literally supports users to create patterns by configuring the measurement items they want. The last measurement items selected and set in Set Details will remain the same even if you rerun the software, so you can continue to use them in the future. Let's see how to utilize the menu in various situations and create a sweatshirt outfit with a t-shirt pattern. First, let's input the basic dimensions with the simple menu selected at the top. If the eye-shaped icon on the top left section named, such as front body, back body, and sleeve is blue, it means that the pattern is activated and will be displayed as a ghost pattern in the right-hand 2D pattern window. When you unclick the eye icon, it will turn gray, hiding all the sub-measurements for that pattern, and the pattern will disappear from the 2D pattern window. Let's click the eye icon again to activate the front body pattern. On the right side of the pattern unit section, you'll find the symmetry and half symmetry options. By default, half symmetry is enabled, as front and back body patterns are commonly created using this setting. Accordingly, the ghost pattern in the 2D pattern window is also displayed in a half symmetrical form. If you select symmetry, the pattern will be shown as a fully symmetrical piece, but without a connected center front line. If both options are deselected, only a single half of the pattern will be generated. Let's reselect half symmetry for now. Next, let's input the measurements for the front body, back body, and sleeves to create a regular fit sweatshirt. First, let's input the total length of the sweatshirt. Let's input the total length based on the back body pattern. Select the length reference point as HPS from the drop-down menu. Then, when you click on the measurement value to enter the value, the measurement location will appear as a guideline on the ghost pattern in the 2D pattern window. This makes it easy to identify which dimension the input value is for. To input a numerical value, click on the input box of the measurement item and move the mouse scroll up and down to adjust in 1mm units. At this time, a ghost pattern is displayed in the 2D pattern window on the right, so you can check the results in real time and create patterns. You can also directly input the desired value. For example, if you enter 600 and want to return it to the initial value, click the Reset button on the right side of the measurement item to return it to the initial default value. The Reset button can be used to reset not only each measurement item, but also pattern units such as front body, back body, and sleeves. Then I will enter the total length again as 620. Next, let's enter the values related to width into the front body. The value related to width is the total width value of the pattern, and the value that can be measured by circumference can be entered by pressing the total option to enter the total circumference value. Let's enter the neck width. I will enter 160. For the shoulder width, across shoulder, we will enter 400. For the chest circumference, across bust, we will first select the measurement standard as armhole to armhole and enter the total circumference value, not the chest width of the front panel. Let's click on the total icon on the right side, where the front and back patterns are touching. Then, in the 2D pattern window, guidelines will appear for both the front and back patterns for chest width. You need to enter the total circumference value. Let's enter 1000 as the chest circumference value. I'll also check the total option for the hem width and enter 960. Now let's enter some detail related values. Let's enter the sleeve length. I'm going to type 570 to change it to long sleeve, and I'm going to type 240 for the sleeve opening width. As you can see, based on the values we entered, a ghost pattern appears in the 2D pattern window. In order to fine-tune the pattern in this state, let's change the menu from simple to general at the top. Then, the remaining detailed measurement items will be displayed while maintaining the values previously entered in simple. Here, I will additionally adjust the shoulder slope drop value to adjust the front back neck depth and shoulder angle. First, I will enter 60 as the value of the neck drop under the front body, and I will adjust the shoulder slope drop value by clicking on the measurement window, scrolling up and looking at the 2D pattern window. I think the shoulder angle is correct now, so I'll set it to 30.7 millimeters. Going to the back body, I'll input 25 for the back neck drop value. And to make the back shoulder slope arch drop value the same size as the front, I'll input 42.8 millimeters. Then, the body and sleeve patterns are complete. However, since I'm going to be making a sweatshirt pattern, I need a pattern that will be the sleeve rib and the hem rib. If you look at the bottom, you'll see that the cuffs, front and back hem items are disabled. Let's activate it by clicking on the eye icon in front of each section. Then you can see that each pattern is activated and displayed in the 2D pattern window. Currently, only the height-related lengths are entered for cuffs, front and back hems. If you click on the Show All Measurements list for each pattern, you can see that the width-related lengths can be entered as well as the height, and they are hidden. Then let's click on the Set Details icon on the top right. Scroll down and select upper width from each of the cuffs, front and back hem. Then, click on the Set Details icon again to exit the window. Then, you can see that the drop-down menu at the top has changed to Custom, and the measurement item settings currently displayed will be maintained even if you rerun the software, so you can reuse them later. Now, let's enter the height and width values for each cuff and hem. Let's start by entering the cuffs in order. Cuff height will be 50, and upper width will be 150. Then, a square pattern will be displayed according to the entered values. If you want to create various cuff patterns other than squares, such as ruffles, you can activate additional measurement items such as lower width and center straight in Set Details and use them to create patterns. Next, we will enter the front back hem values. The front back hem values are the same for both patterns. For the side straight value, enter 60, and for the upper width value, enter 390. The values entered in this way can be saved as a CSV file by pressing the Save button in the bottom left corner. You can then import a previously saved CSV file by clicking the Open button on the right instead of entering the values manually. By pre-organizing the dimensions according to the item name and file format, you can easily modify the pattern in Pattern Drafter by importing the CSV file later. Next, let's create a pattern by clicking around the avatar ghost after pressing the Create button in the bottom right corner. And to check if the placement and sewing are automatically applied to the avatar surroundings, let's close the Pattern Drafter window and check the 3D window. You can see that the sweatshirt pattern is well placed around the avatar, and the basic sewing is also automatically set to match the pattern length. To prevent collisions, let's position the hem pattern slightly downward and run the simulation. Based on the measurement values entered earlier, the sweatshirt pattern is created, and you can see that the placement and sewing are automatically applied. In this way, if the values and shape of the pattern you want to create are clear, we learned how to create a pattern based on the values you have. Let's erase the pattern we created, leaving only the avatar. Click on the AI Pattern Drafter icon, which looks like a magic wand, in the upper right corner of the Pattern Drafter. The AI Pattern Drafter window will appear. You can create a pattern by choosing one of two methods, prompt or image. In the case of prompt, it automatically creates an image to be used for pattern creation based on the text or keyword you entered, and you can create a pattern based on the created image. In the case of the image menu, you can upload an image file you have and create it as a pattern right away. First, let's take a look at the prompt method. First, you need to select the category type of the pattern you want to create at the top. It is selected as a t-shirt by default. Currently, AI Pattern Drafter can only create patterns for top t-shirts. Please note that various categories of clothing, such as pants and skirts, will be developed in the future. Next, let's take a look at the text prompt window below. In the text prompt window, you can enter a text prompt that describes the desired pattern. And if you click the first icon on the right, Keyword Suggestion, you can select keywords recommended for pattern creation, such as neckline or sleeve detail. Here, if you select the desired keywords, you can see that the keywords are added to the text prompt window. If you want to delete those keywords, you can click the Close button or press the Keyword Suggestion icon again in the Keyword Suggestion window to deselect the selected keywords. AI Pattern Drafter always creates a new image, even with the same prompt. However, at this time, if you activate the Maintain Prompt icon, you can add a prompt and update it while maintaining the existing results as much as possible. For example, you can keep the round neck and click Maintain Prompt, then click Long Sleeve among the keyword suggestions to change only the sleeve length to be longer. The third icon is a random prompt that you can use when you want to get an idea. If you want to change the prompt, you can reset the prompt with the Clear Prompt icon or modify it in detail with the Maintain Prompt function. In the History window on the right, you can check the list of images you have created so far along with the prompt you entered. And you can save the desired result as an image file by pressing the Save button. Next, let's create a pattern using the image file we have. Similarly, the clothing category type is selected as t-shirt at the top. Then, let's add the desired image by selecting the Upload button at the bottom. Once the image file has been added properly, let's convert it into a pattern by selecting the Generate button at the bottom of the window. If you check the 2D pattern window, you can see that the raglan pattern has been created according to the image. Close the window by pressing the Close button, and let's modify the measurement values of the pattern, generated based on AI as desired. If you check the Pattern Drafter window, you can see that the category at the top has been automatically recognized and changed to raglan. And you can see that it has been changed to the General menu. and all the relevant values have been entered to create a pattern based on the most detailed measurement. I will now try to modify the sleeve length and total length in the created pattern. First, I will change the sleeve length to 600, and the total length is currently activated for both the front and back body measurement, so each can be set individually. I think it would be good if the front body's total length was automatically generated based on the back body's total length that I entered. Click on Set Details icon and deselect the front body's total length, and then enter 600 for the back body's total length based on the center back. Then, as you can see, the front body is corrected based on the back body's total length that you entered, and the length is modified together. Then, let's create a pattern by pressing the Create button. In the raglan pattern, the sleeves were displayed as separate front and back pieces along the raglan seam in order to measure the neck width and drop based on the HPS. However, once the garment is created, the front and back sleeves are merged based on the HPS, and the corresponding seam is converted into a baseline. If you click the 3D window in the tab below and look at it, you can see that the pattern is automatically placed based on the avatar and the sewing is completed. If you press the Simulate button, you can see that the automatically generated pattern based on the image is implemented as a 3D garment. Not only can you create patterns based on precise dimensions like this, but you can also easily and accurately create various patterns with just one image. So make good use of it when creating patterns. Keyframes can be applied to various elements such as colorway, fabric, pattern, joint, pin, and wind controller, allowing for animations that transition naturally over time. The previous animation mode has been updated and is now available as the animation editor, which enables animation work to be done directly within the simulation mode. Overall usability has also been improved. Click on Animation in the top menu. Then select Animation Editor to open it. First, let's take a look at the updated layout of the animation editor, followed by an explanation of how to set keyframes. The top toolbar retains the familiar options such as recording, playback controls, camera animation, and simulation quality. A new addition to this toolbar is the auto keying feature. Other configuration-related settings have been relocated to the Configurations panel on the right. On the left side, the animation layer list shows a tree structure of animated objects in the scene. Objects such as garment, wind controller, and colorway appear as object layers at the top level when animation is applied. Clicking the drop-down of each object reveals only the animatable properties, which are displayed as property layers. Object layer names cannot be edited directly in the animation editor. However, for certain objects, you can rename them by selecting them in the Scene tab. To set a keyframe, click the Insert Key button on the right side of each property layer. Depending on the property, you can enable or disable it using a checkbox, or enter a specific value to set a key. Keyframes are shown as diamond icons, making them easy to identify. On the right, the animation track displays the animation range for each object as a bar, helping you understand the timing at a glance. Simulation-based cache animations, such as those for garments or soft bodies, are shown in red, while keyframe-based animations appear in gray. Clicking the Add Animation button at the top left opens a list of objects that support animation, such as colorways, fabrics, patterns, avatars, and cameras. Once selected, the object is added to the layer list and keyframes can then be applied. Next, let's take a look at the timeline area located in the middle section of the interface. The gray bar above the ruler at the top represents the playback range, which defines the portion of the animation that will play. There are several ways to adjust the playback range. You can drag the handles on either side of the gray bar to set the start frame and end frame manually. Alternatively, you can drag the entire bar to move the range as a whole. When the playback range is updated, the start frame and end frame values in the configurations panel on the right are also updated automatically. You can also right-click directly on the timeline ruler to quickly set the playback range. Selecting Set Start Frame or Set End Frame will set the current frame as the start or end of the range, respectively. Let's try adjusting the playback range based on the current playhead position using these options. If you want the playback range to automatically match all existing keyframes in the scene, choose Clamp Range to Active Frames. You can also zoom in or out of the ruler by scrolling the mouse wheel while holding the Control key, making it easier to check the frame range in detail. Next is the timeline slider, located at the bottom. This allows you to set the range you want to zoom in on within the timeline. When you right-click on the slider area, three options appear for controlling the timeline view. Selecting Fit to Active Frames adjusts the timeline view to fit between the first and last keyframes across all animation layers. Fit to Playback Range sets the view based on the currently defined playback range. Fit to Full Frames adjusts the timeline view according to the set minimum and maximum frame values. Finally, on the right side, the Configurations panel allows you to control general playback settings such as timeline range, speed, and time units. Two new options have been added here: FPS and Preserve Frames. FPS frames per second defines how many frames are played in 1 second. A higher FPS value results in smoother animation playback, while a lower value can make the motion appear more choppy. However, higher FPS also increases rendering time and file size. So it's important to choose a value that balances quality and performance based on your project needs. The Preserve Frames option determines how existing keyframes are handled when the FPS is changed. If this option is disabled, the total playback duration will remain the same, but the frame numbers of the keyframes will be adjusted to match the new FPS. On the other hand, if the option is enabled, the frame numbers where the keyframes are placed will stay the same, and the total playback duration will change according to the new FPS. Now, let's go over how to create and edit animations. For simulation-based cache animations, such as garments or soft bodies, you can continue to use the Record button, just as before. In this version, new options have been added to split and merge cache animation layers. Previously, it was difficult to edit recorded garment or soft body layers individually. Now, you can freely cut or combine them as needed. To split a layer, right-click on the garment layer you want to cut and select Cut Layer. The layer will be split at the current frame, and the new segment will appear directly above the original in the layer list. To merge multiple layers, hold the Control key and select the property layers you want to combine, or use Shift to select them consecutively. Then, right-click and choose Merge Layer. When layers are merged, the topmost layer is used as the base. If there are overlapping frames, the data from the upper layer takes priority during the merge. Unlike cache animations, the objects listed under Add Animation require keyframes to be manually set in order to animate. Let's go through each animatable item and review how to apply keyframes along with a few important notes. We'll start with Colorway Animation. There are two ways to set keyframes. First is using the Add Animation button in the layer list. Second, setting them directly from the object's editor or property editor. Let's first use the Add Animation button. Click the button and select Colorway to create an empty Colorway layer. Click the drop-down to expand the layer and view its property. In the drop-down menu, you can see the list of available colorways for the garment. Now let's add a keyframe for the white colorway at frame 1. Keyframes are set based on the current frame. You can either type a frame number into the current frame field or move the playhead to the desired frame. Then select the colorway and click the Insert Key icon. A keyframe icon will appear on the first frame of the index layer. Repeat the same process to add keyframes for the other colorways at the desired frames. To check if keyframes have been added correctly, use the arrow buttons next to the Insert Key icon. These keyframe controllers let you quickly jump between existing keyframes. Once you've confirmed the keyframes are in place, return to the first frame and click the play button. You'll see the colorway transitions smoothly, creating an animation from the connected keyframes. Now let's look at how to add keyframes directly from the colorway editor. Move to the frame where you want to add a keyframe, select a colorway, and click the Insert Keyframe icon in the top right corner of the editor. After adding keyframes, you can adjust the overall duration while keeping their relative spacing by dragging the bar ends of the object layer. You can also move all keyframes at once by dragging the entire bar, or adjust individual keyframes by clicking and dragging them to a new position. Multiple keyframes can be selected together and moved as a group while maintaining their spacing. If playback becomes slow due to heavy animation data, click the eye icon on the right side to toggle playback for individual animations. To delete an animation layer, right-click on the layer in the list and select Delete. Since the layers are structured in a tree format, deleting a parent object layer will also remove its associated property layers. To delete specific keyframes, click on a single keyframe or drag to select multiple, then right-click and choose Delete key, or press the Delete key on your keyboard. If a property layer is accidentally deleted, you can re-add it by right-clicking the object layer and selecting Add Layer. You'll see a list of animatable properties, and you can choose which ones to add individually. Now let's go over how to create avatar animations. This process involves adjusting poses, using joints, and setting keyframes. After clicking the Add Animation button, hover over the avatar menu. A list of avatars currently loaded in the scene will appear. Click on the desired avatar to add it to the layer list. Click the drop-down to expand and view its property layer. To add the current pose as the first keyframe, first set the current frame to 0, then click the Insert Key button on the right to set the keyframe. Press Shift-X on your keyboard to display the avatar's joints in the 3D window. Next, move the playhead to change the frame position, adjust the joints to modify the pose, then click the Insert Key button on the right side of the joint layer to set another keyframe. Since joint animation typically involves repeating the steps of moving frames, adjusting poses, and inserting keys, it's more efficient to enable auto-keying. After manually inserting a keyframe on the first frame, any further joint adjustments will automatically generate keyframes. If a key already exists on that frame, the new joint values will override the existing key. You can also copy and paste keyframes. Click or drag to select one or multiple keyframes. Right-click and choose Copy Key or press Ctrl-C on your keyboard. Move the playhead to the frame where you want to paste, then right-click on the layer and choose Paste Key or press Ctrl-V. The keyframes will be pasted with their original spacing relative to the current frame. You can still access the offset joint and move to ground by right-clicking on the object layer and selecting them from the context menu. Now that avatar keyframes can be edited directly, it's also possible to load and modify existing .mtn files. To avoid restarting simulations in the current scene, open the file in a new window. Now let's look at how to apply animation to patterns. By setting keyframes for the fabric property, you can animate fabric changes over time on a selected pattern. Pattern animation can be added via Add Animation button after checking the pattern name, but it's often more efficient to insert keyframes directly from the property editor. First, set the current frame. Then select the Transform Pattern tool and click or drag to select the pattern you want to animate in the 2D pattern window. In the property editor, click the Insert Key icon next to the Fabric menu. This will automatically add the pattern to the layer list and insert a fabric keyframe at the current frame. Move the playhead to another frame, then change the fabric item in the property editor. Click the Insert Key button again to set another keyframe. Repeat this process as needed. When you play the animation, you'll see the fabric transition over time for the selected pattern. Now let's go over how to animate fabric properties. You can set keyframes individually for the material and physical property attributes of a fabric item. Click the Add Animation button, then select the fabric item you want to animate. The selected fabric will be added to the layer list as an object layer. Click the drop-down to expand it and see the property layers listed beneath it. These include certain PBR properties and physical properties. If the fabric uses different textures for the front, side, and back, you can keyframe each side's properties separately. If you want to add only specific properties to the layer list, you can select the fabric item in the object browser, then click the diamond icon next to the desired property in the property editor. This adds just that property to the layer list as a property layer. From there, you can set keyframes in the usual way, set the current frame, adjust the value, and click the Insert Key button. However, keep in mind that pattern, fabric, and colorway animations all control fabric-related properties. Next, let's look at how to apply animation to simulation properties. Click the Add Animation button and select Simulation Property. An object layer will be added to the layer list, but no property layers will be shown by default. To display the property settings, either click the Simulation Property object layer in the list, or right-click in the 3D window and choose Simulation Properties. Change the preset to Custom to enable keyframe control for the gravity and air damping properties. Next is how to set up animation for pins. Pin animation allows you to set keyframes for the active or inactive state. First, create a pin in the 3D window. Then, add the pin object to the layer list using the Add Animation button. Note that pins and Win controllers share the same default name when created, so it's recommended to select the pin and rename it in the property editor after adding it. To control how values change between keyframes and adjust the animation speed, you can set the interpolation type. To change the interpolation type, select the desired keyframe, right-click, and choose the preferred interpolation option from the menu. Constant keeps the current keyframe's value unchanged until the next keyframe, resulting in an instant change. Linear connects values between keyframes with straight lines, creating a smooth and steady transition. Cubic connects keyframe values with curves, resulting in smoother and more dynamic motion. This is especially effective when using 3 or more keyframes, as the transitions appear more natural. Depending on the property type of the selected keyframes layer, only supported interpolation types will be enabled in the menu. When you change the interpolation type for a keyframe, the same type is automatically applied to any keyframes at the same frame position in sublayers. Finally, the animation editor window can be separated into its own floating panel by clicking the Undock button. When undocked, you can click the full screen button to expand the editor to full screen. In a dual monitor setup, this allows you to work with the editor on a separate screen, improving your workflow. To return to the original window size, click the Restore button. To dock the editor back into the CLO interface, click the dock icon. For more details on the various properties that support keyframe animation and the interpolation types available for each, please refer to the user manual. We encourage you to explore the enhanced animation editor and keyframe features to create more dynamic and polished content. In this version, IK joint mapping for CLO avatars has been made easier across various avatars, allowing seamless motion and pose compatibility not only for CLO avatars, but for all avatars. Let's take a look at the IK joint mapping feature through an example. First, import the avatar as an FBX file to map the IK joints. Let me explain some important considerations before proceeding with IK mapping. In particular, there should be no joints with duplicate names within the FBX file. The avatar must include key joints such as the shoulders, elbows, wrists, pelvis, knees, and ankles. Since the T-pose serves as the reference for IK mapping, incorrect positioning may cause unexpected IK behavior. Therefore, the avatar must be properly set to the T-pose. If the avatar is not in the T-pose, you need to manually adjust it to the T-pose using the avatar's joints in the 3D window. Activate the Show Avatar joint under the avatar display in the toggle menu. Then click on the shoulder joint of the avatar. Use the gizmo to adjust the avatar to the T-pose. However, for creatures or quadruped avatars that are not humanoid in structure, IK mapping may not be applied correctly. Now let's map the IK joints to the avatar. In the main menu, go to Avatar and click on the Avatar Editor. Then select the IK Joints tab. First, by setting the avatar to the T-pose, you can use not only close IK joints, but also compatible poses and motion files for CLO avatars. To map the avatar in a way that allows the use of poses and motion files created for CLO avatars, I will click the Set T-pose icon to register the T-pose of the avatar. If everything is set up correctly, the Reset Pose button on the right will be activated. This Reset Pose button allows you to revert to the T-pose set earlier using the Set T-pose function after adjusting the pose during the IK mapping process. Now let's map the joints. There are two main methods for joint mapping: manually mapping each joint one by one, or automatically mapping the joints by recognizing their names. First, let's take a look at how to manually map the joints according to the joint list. Let's first check the joint list. The joint mapping are divided into required and optional categories, with the names of the joints corresponding to each item listed under each mapping category. To ensure accurate IK joint mapping, all required items must be mapped. Optional joint items aren't required, but if the imported avatar has these joints, mapping them can give you more accurate results. Now let's map the joints for the required items one by one. First, when you click on a joint name, you can see which part of the avatar the selected joint is in by checking the preview image. Alternatively, you can click on a joint in the preview image to find the joint you want. Next, click on the matching joint in the 3D window to select it. Alternatively, you can first click on the joint in the avatar and then click the item in the tab to map it. If multiple joints overlap like this, you can choose which joint to map. Let's start by clicking on the head to map it. When you click on a joint, the mapped area will be highlighted with a green joint in the 3D window and the preview image in the avatar editor. A white checkmark will also appear next to the joint in the joint list, indicating that the joint mapping is complete. Additionally, the joint names saved for the avatar will be displayed next to the mapping items on the right. If you made a mistake and want to reselect the joint to map, You can select the joint list item and then click on another joint to remap it. Another way to delete the mapping is to select the item in the joint list and press the delete key on your keyboard. Now let's map the remaining items one by one. When I mapped the left shoulder joint, the opposite right shoulder was mapped at the same time. This is because the symmetric mapping is enabled by default. For the symmetric mapping option to apply automatically, the joint names must be separated with left and right or by the letters L and R. If this option is unchecked, you will need to manually map the right and left joints individually. Now, let's continue by mapping all the remaining joints below. Once all the joints for the required items are mapped, the status will show as complete on the right side of the items, indicating that the IK mapping is finished. Next, let's look at how to automatically map the joints. Before automatically mapping the joints, let's click the Reset Mapping button at the top to reset all the currently mapped joint information. Then, if you click the Auto Mapping button just below, all the required joints under the required items will be automatically mapped, and you can see that the status changed to complete. However, please note that the auto mapping feature will only work correctly if the avatar's joint names are the same as those in the CLO avatar, or if the avatar file is from DAZ, Mixamo, Character Creator, or MetaHuman. The IK mapping information for the avatar can be saved and managed as an IKS file. However, please note that the IK file is only compatible between avatars with the same structure that were mapped in the same way. You can click the Save Open button in the top right corner to open or save the IK data as an IKS file. After all the joint mapping is complete, you can apply a pose provided by CLO and confirm that the pose is correctly reflected. The avatar file with completed joint mapping can be saved and used as an avatar, just like the CLO avatar. In the 2025.0 version, we can now easily adjust the hip shape of both male and female avatars using a slide bar. To demonstrate this feature, let's load the female avatar from version FV2.1 and open the Avatar Editor window. In the Avatar Size tab, under the Shape category, you will now see a new hip section, which includes two adjustable parameters, dips and volume. Both are set to 50% by default. You can modify these values to create a variety of hip shapes. The sliders work the same way as those for adjusting the breast shape. You can drag the sliders for simple control or input values directly on the right for more precise adjustments. To reset all changes to default, click the Reset button located at the top right. Now let's see how the hip shape changes when we adjust each parameter. The dips control adjusts the natural indentation between the hip and the side of the thigh. Slide the bar to the left to reduce the value. Note, the first time you move the slider, an information window may appear. If you check Don't Show Again, it won't appear next time. Click OK, then move the slider to the left. As the value decreases, you'll notice a more indented curve on the side of the hip. Sliding it in the opposite direction fills out the volume on both sides, creating a rounder hip shape. Next, let's adjust the volume to create a flatter or more curved hip. You'll notice the terms flat and curved below the slider. If you move the slider towards flat to create a drooping or less prominent hip shape, move it towards curved to add volume to the upper hip area and achieve a lifted appearance. This function is also available for male avatars. Let's load the male avatar from version MV2.1 and take a look. You'll find the same hip category with dips and volume parameters in the same location. Since the functionality is identical to the female avatar, feel free to experiment and adjust the shape as desired. Please note that adjusting these hip shape parameters does not affect the size values for high hip or low hip measurements. Using this new feature in the avatar editor, you can now create a wide range of hip shapes with ease. Previously, nesting was performed without considering the texture or print applied to the pattern. Starting with this version, a pattern matching function has been added to enable efficient nesting while maintaining the texture applied to the pattern and the print location. Let's take a look at the function through an example. The pattern matching function can be accessed and used in two ways. First, when you select a pattern in simulation mode, you can see that the pattern matching function has been added under the fabric section of the property editor window on the right. The pattern matching function consists of a total of 4 options, and let's take a look at what each option does one by one. First of all, the default value is set to none. As before, this is a method of calculating random nesting values regardless of texture and printing. Next, the texture-based option is a function that automatically recognizes the shape of the texture placed on each pattern in simulation mode and matches the texture placement with this in print layout mode to enable efficient nesting. The print-based option operates in the same way as the texture-based option and is used for patterns in which printing is added using the Add Print option rather than when a texture is applied to the base color map. The last lock-in-place option is literally a function that fixes the selected pattern in the print layout mode to the placed position. Except for the pattern to which this function is applied, the remaining patterns are nested according to the option selected when using the nesting function. After selecting a pattern, if you select an option other than the None option, such as the texture-based option, the pattern matching lock function below is automatically activated. The lock function is a function that places a print or texture in a specific location and fixes it so that the texture doesn't move unintentionally when modifying another pattern using the same fabric. If necessary, you can unlock it by unchecking the option. Next, let's move on to print layout mode and learn more about how to use the pattern matching function. In print layout mode, you can use the pattern matching function by right-clicking after selecting the desired patterns in the print layout editor window. Before activating the function, let's first place the pattern in the desired location. Then, right-click on the patterns and activate the texture-based option. As you can see, the positions of the two front patterns are overlapped in the print layout editor. But in the 3D window, the textures are displayed as perfectly connected. In this state, let's start nesting by pressing the Nest Patterns All button. As you can see, there is no change in the placement of the texture in the 3D window. But the two front patterns recognize the corresponding texture image and calculate the optimal nesting value with the remaining patterns. So you can see that the position is automatically adjusted in the print layout editor. Next, let's look at the differences in print layout mode by applying the print-based option through a suitable example file with printed fabric applied. Similarly, after placing the pattern at the desired print location, right-click on the patterns, click on Pattern Matching and select Print Based. And if you click the Nest Patterns All button, you can see that the print image is recognized and maintained, and the remaining patterns and efficient nesting values are calculated and placed. Next, we will use the Lock-in-Place function using the Denim Pants file. The Lock-in-Place function is a useful function when you need to lock a pattern in a specific location, rather than automatically recognizing and matching the connected pattern or direction of the texture. In the Print Layout Editor window, place the pants front pattern in the area with the washing effect, then select the two patterns, right-click, and activate the Lock-in-Place function. And similarly, if you nest with the rest of the patterns, you can see that only the two front patterns remain in the corresponding positions, and the remaining patterns are automatically placed by calculating the optimal nesting result in the other space. Print-based options and texture-based options are automatically applied when nesting along with the grading pattern. However, please note that the lock-in-place function does not apply to grading patterns. Take advantage of this improved print nesting function to place prints exactly where you want them and experience efficient use of fabric. Starting with version 2025.0, when clicking and dragging garments in the simulation mode, users can now define the area and intensity of pinching, enabling precise adjustments according to their preferences. Previously, issues such as overlapping layers, twisted garments, or adjustments to wrinkles were handled using tools like Select Mesh, Pins, or Layer Settings. However, in version 2025.0, the new advanced pinching feature allows for easier and more efficient manipulation in a wider range of situations. Now let me walk you through each case using the example files. To use this feature, simulation must be turned on. Once the simulation is activated, the Select Move tool will switch to the hand-shaped Quick Pinching tool. By pressing and holding the Quick Pinching tool for 2 seconds, a hidden sub-menu will appear. From there, click on the Advanced Pinching tool. This will bring up the Advanced Pinching Settings window. The Settings window is divided into two main categories: Range and Options. First, let's take a look at the options that determine how the selection area for pinching is displayed and applied. Under the Options category, you'll find the Distance Measure setting. This setting allows you to define how the selection is calculated from the picking point, with two available modes, Surface and Straight. In Surface mode, the pinching effect is applied only to the surface of a single selected layer, within the specified range, even if multiple pattern layers are stacked. However, in cases where patterns are sewn together, such as a collar facing, any areas that fall within the defined fall-off distance and power range will be affected simultaneously. Pinching the same area after selecting Straight mode enables pinching of all patterns within a certain distance from the picking point, regardless of the selected layer or whether the patterns are sewn together. When using this option to pinch the same area, you will see that all patterns within the defined distance are affected simultaneously. Next, the distance indicator, located below Distance Measure, allows you to toggle the visibility of two circles that represent the fall-off distance and power applied to the garment, allowing you to visually confirm the range and intensity of the pinching effect. Now let's take a look at how the pinching area is affected when Limit to Selected Patterns is enabled under each distance measure type. When Surface is selected as the distance measure type and Limit to Selected Patterns is enabled, pinching the lapel collar will apply the effect only to the currently selected lapel pattern. Then, when the distance measure type is switched to Straight and the option is enabled, you'll see that only the currently selected pattern is affected. Regardless of the distance measure mode selected, this option can be especially useful when you want to apply pinching to a specific pattern in a given workflow. Next, the Display Weight function visually highlights the pinching area in light green when enabled. If this option is turned off, pinching the garment will no longer display the green highlighted area, even though the effect is still applied. Next, the Range category in the Settings window allows you to define the shape, distance, and intensity of the pinching effect. These parameters are visually represented in the graph below, reflecting the selected shape, distance, and strength settings. The first option under the range category is fall-off shape, where you can choose the shape of the pinching effect. Let's start by selecting the bump option. When you hover your mouse over the garment in the 3D window, the cursor changes to a hand icon. If the distance indicator is enabled, you'll see a small circle within a larger one centered around the hand cursor. The bump shape allows for a broader, more rounded core pinching area as indicated by the inner circle. If you try pinching with this option, you'll notice that the selected area isn't pinched into a sharp point, but rather appears more rounded and spread out across a wider surface. Next, let's change the fall-off shape to the linear option. The linear shape allows you to define a smaller, more detailed core area for pinching. Once you switch to the linear option, you'll notice that the graph below updates to a sharper, more pointed shape. When you click and pinch the garment, you'll see that the core area is selected more narrowly and precisely compared to the bump option, allowing for more detailed pinching control. The fall-off distance controls the area affected by pinching. As this value increases, the size of the two selection circles on the garment expands accordingly. The default value for this setting is 200, and it can be adjusted within a range of 1 to 500. Among the two circles, the smaller inner circle represents the area where the pinching force is applied most directly. As the effect radiates outward toward the larger outer circle, the intensity gradually decreases, creating a smooth and natural fall-off. We'll now test various ranges while keeping the fall-off power value constant. First, set the fall-off distance to 250 and perform a pinch. You'll see that the selection and pinching effect are applied across the area defined by the larger concentric circles. This time, let's set the fall-off distance to 500 and apply a pinch to the garment. Compared to the previous setting of 250, both the inner and outer circles now cover an area twice as wide, allowing you to pinch a much larger region. Now let's set the value to the minimum of 1 and pinch the pattern again. With a fall-off distance of just 1 millimeter, only a very narrow area is selected, allowing for extremely localized pinching. The fall-off power option controls the size of the inner circle, which represents the area where the pinching force is applied most directly. The default value for this setting is 0, with a minimum of -2.0 and a maximum of +2.0. The closer the value is to the negative end, the larger the inner circle becomes, resulting in a broader area receiving direct force. Conversely, as the value approaches the positive end, the inner circle becomes smaller, limiting the area where the force is applied directly. If you pinch the garment in the default 0 value setting, you can pinch the garment only within the graph range. Next, let's set the fall-off power to its minimum value of -2.0 and perform a pinch. In this case, the inner circle almost overlaps with the outer circle, allowing the pinching force to be distributed evenly across a wider area rather than being concentrated on a specific point. Finally, let's set the value to the maximum of +2.0 and pinch the garment again. With the narrowed graph, the pinching force becomes highly concentrated at a specific point, allowing for precise manipulation over a small area. Next, let's use these options to create a twisted detail in the garment. First, reposition the fixed pin to create a base state that allows for twisting. Then, select the advanced pinching tool and adjust the fall-off distance and power according to the size of the inner pattern area you want to pinch. Once the settings are complete, pinch the garment to generate the twisted detail. After achieving the desired effect, delete the fixed pin and continue the simulation. In this way, Advanced pinching can be used not only to adjust the draping of garments, but also to express various details such as knots and twists directly within the simulation environment. Customize the settings according to each situation and use the advanced pinching feature alone to easily create specific design details or achieve your desired fitting shape. Starting from version 2025.0, a new material has been added in CLO that allows users to directly create and view fur strand results in the 3D window. Previously, users could only check fur results through rendering using V-Ray fur. However, with the newly added fur strand material, users can now create and preview fur garments instantly without rendering, significantly streamlining the workflow. In addition, V-Ray-based fur could only be viewed in V-Ray render, limiting its use in external applications. In contrast, the fur strand material can be exported in USD format, greatly improving compatibility with external tools. And currently, this feature is only available in the Windows environment, but it will also be supported on macOS in the future. To show or hide the fur strand material, hover over the 3D garment rendering options in the toggle menu of the 3D window. Click the Show Fur Strand icon to enable it. Fur will appear on the fabric where the fur strand material is supplied, and you can immediately view it in the 3D window. You can also enable random fur strand color to assign random colors to each fur strand, making it easier to check the individual shapes of the strands. When no fabric with fur strand material is used, these options will be disabled and cannot be selected. You can choose from 3 different options to control how the fur strands appear. In the 3D window, go to the main menu, open Settings, then User Settings and click on the 3D tab. Under Fur Strand Shape, you'll find 3 options: Cylinder, Plane and Line. Cylinder displays the fur as a cylindrical shape with thickness and width, which is helpful for checking the overall structure of the fur. Plane shows the fur as a flat shape with width but no thickness. This is the default setting. Line represents the fur as a simple curved line with no thickness or width. For a more realistic appearance, I'll select the cylinder option. Now let's apply the fur strand material directly to a garment. Click on the fabric one in the object browser. In the property editor, change the type to fur strand. The garment with this fabric applied will instantly appear with fur in the 3D window, and you can choose from a variety of available fur presets. At the bottom of the property editor, just like with the previous fur render only type, you can adjust detailed properties such as parameters, shape settings, and map application to style the fur. Although the fur strand uses the same parameter options as the original fur render only type, the values behave differently. A new randomization option has been added to fur strand. By adjusting the seed value, you can create slightly different fur arrangements even when using the same parameters. You can also export fur strand data created in CLO as a USD file and use it in other software. Go to the main menu, then File, then Export, and select the USD format. Make sure to check the option Include fur strand data to export the strand data in the USD file. With the newly added fur strand material, you can now create fur that looks the same in both the 3D window and final renders. In previous versions, only CPU rendering was supported on Mac. However, the new version now supports GPU rendering as well. This allows for much faster V-Ray rendering even on Apple Silicon Macs. Let's check out the GPU render using an example project file. First, open the render window and click the render property icon. Once the render settings appear, open the drop-down menu in the engine category. As you can see, a new GPU engine has been added. Now let's run the interactive render. You'll see the results appear in the render window. Just like CPU rendering, GPU rendering supports all material types provided in CLO and renders much faster than before. This feature only works with the latest version that has the updated SDK installed. If your SDK doesn't update automatically, make sure to install the latest version manually. Now you can experience high-speed rendering even on Mac using GPU rendering. We can now bring the favorite folders from the old library to the new library. With this update, you don't need to relink all your favorite folders one by one and just stay in new library. In this old library, you can see that there is a favorite folder that I added named UI Update, which was inherited from version 2024.0. Now go back to new library, click Add button. There are two options: create new library and transfer previous favorites. Select Transfer Previous Favorites. After that, you can see UI Update folder is added immediately to new library. In the previous versions, after we opened the UV editor, we had to go back to simulation mode to check 2D patterns or render preview. It is not the most convenient way in the editing process. The UV editor is now moved from mode to window. The new location of UV editor is now in Materials tab of the main menu. Open the UV editor. You can freely switch to 2D pattern window. Before 2025.0, 3D and 2D display settings depended on the computer or 3D file. We didn't know what the file receiver would see when opening the file, which might cause miscommunication because of the display setting difference. From 2025.0, we are able to save 3D and 2D display settings in project files. Monochrome surface and show ruler are used in this file. Quality render is activated. Internal lines and baselines are hidden in 3D window. Thick textured surface is also selected. This file is created and saved in 2025.0. The display settings are saved in the file. When I open this file, I can choose to open the display settings saved in the handbag file or not. Now I tick the checkbox of display settings. In 2D display settings, there are no rulers. The 2D pattern is in front texture surface instead of monochrome surface. In 3D display settings, quality render is not used. Textured surface is used. Internal lines and baselines are shown, so you can see the display settings of this handbag is different from the kidswear file. The stress file was created in the previous version, so when I open the file, display settings option is not activated. The default display settings will apply to this file. It will clean all display settings to default if I create a new project. When I open the project file now, display settings of this file will open automatically. We will apply this change in garment file in the future as well. Hope this update in project file can minimize the miscommunication between file creator and file receiver when reviewing. In 2025.0, we can set the editing range for curve lines and points by Smooth Curve tool. This means only the defined range on the pattern outline or internal line will be edited. Our first step is to set the editing range on the pattern. You can click on any segment point, curve point or line to start the editing range. Then click on another segment point, curve point or line to end the editing range. After that, a gray reference line is shown. We can select which side to edit divided by the gray line. Before editing, we also need to decide which line to edit. There are two choices. Case 1, click the lines or points on the pattern outline internal line. Case 2, click the reference line. Now, we can start editing the defined range. You can click and drag a curve point, segment point or line. The selected point or line is edited and moved. Nearby, curve and segment points move proportionally together. The number of curve points are maintained while editing the curve until you want to add additional points. If you want to edit an individual point, press Ctrl key, then click and drag a curve point or segment point. The individual point is edited and moved. In the case 2, segment point cannot be edited. To edit multiple points, press Shift to select multiple curve points or multiple segment points. Press Ctrl, then click and drag them. The multi-selected points are edited and moved. Some users may want to enter the measurement for moving the point. Let's click and drag a curve point or segment point. Right-click, enter the distance value to edit or move points with custom distance. During the editing process, you may want to add more points. Press Ctrl. Click on the segment line to add a new curve point. Please note that when adding points on a Bezier curve, the curve type is converted to a spline curve and the curvature may be adjusted because of this change. When adding points on a spline curve, the curve type stays in spline curve type. To remove the unnecessary point, you can right-click on a curve point or segment point. Select Delete in the menu to delete the selected point. To remove multiple points at once, press Shift to select multiple curve points or segment points. Right-click on them. Select Delete in the menu. During the editing process, we can undo the step-by-step by pressing Backspace. To cancel the whole editing process, we can press the Escape key. Finally, we can press Enter to complete the task. Before pressing Enter, you can keep editing the curve until you're satisfied. If you select a pattern outline or internal line at the beginning, it'll update based on the edited pattern outline or internal line. Similarly, when selecting a reference line at the beginning, it'll update based on the edited reference line. Segment points will be added at the start and end. This is same as the current development, but you are now able to add more curve points on it. By using this new feature, only the selected and defined editing range will be edited. Another undefined part won't be affected, so you can ensure you just edit the range you need. In CLO 2025.0, we can further edit pattern annotations by adjusting their orientation, size, and color of pattern annotations for quick and clear access to pattern information. Here, we have our patterns created, and now we need to name them. To do this, we will select the Annotation tool in the 2D window. Left-click on the pattern to create an annotation. Enter the name of your pattern. For example, my pattern is named CLO X 101. Once you have entered the name on the pattern, select the Edit Annotation tool. Previously in CLO, when you zoomed out, the annotation would appear larger. But now you can manually adjust the size, avoiding the font from becoming too big. Go to the property editor and set the font size to 24, for example. Now you have a variety of font sizes, allowing for better visibility of your patterns. You can also manually enter the font size of your preference. You can also change the color of your font. Select your preferred color by clicking on the color chip next to the color code. The color window will open and you can select your preferred color, for example, red color or blue. You could also search the color by its code. Now you also have the ability to rotate the annotation. You can do this directly by using the top double handle on the annotation, click and drag to the desired side. Another way to rotate the annotation is in the property editor. With the annotation selected and the Edit Annotation tool active, go to the property editor and unfold the drop-down menu for orientation. You will find 4 types of orientation options. Custom angle 0 degrees. The annotation will remain horizontal at a 0-degree angle. This option is used when you modify the rotation in the 2D window. X-axis. The annotation will stay horizontal along the X-axis. Y-axis. The annotation will stay vertical along the Y-axis. Parallel to grain, the annotation will follow the orientation of the grain line. The latest updates to the Annotation tool will help you further personalize your patterns and enhance your production processes. In version 2025.0, you can now change the graphics grading sizes proportionally by enabling the Lock Aspect Ratio option. Here, we have our patterns with grading applied, and now we want to apply grading to the graphic as well. To do this, we will select the Edit Grading tool in the 2D window. Select the graphic that you applied to the pattern in the 2D window. With the graphic selected, go to the Property Editor and scroll down until you find the Lock Aspect Ratio option, then activate it. This will enable the graphic to scale proportionally when grading, as most graphics need to be resized proportionally. To see the results of grading your graphic proportionally with the Lock Aspect Ratio option, we need to change its value in percentage. Go to the Size section and change it from unit to percentage. Now, in the Offset section, apply the percentage by which you want to scale it. For example, if we have a graphic that is 100 by 50 millimeters and we apply 5% to the X-axis, the Y-axis will also change proportionally. You can also ensure that the graphic scales proportionally directly from the properties of the graphic. Select the graphic applied in the object browser. Scroll down in the Property Editor, and under Graphic Transformation, you will find the Lock Aspect Ratio option. Click to activate. When we finish the design of our project and want to apply grading to our graphic, it will be done proportionally if we apply grading by percentage. The latest updates to graphic grading will allow you to grade your graphic proportionally in a much easier and faster way, avoiding back and forth with the grading tools. The newly improved pressure map in version 2025.0 provides more accurate visualization by calculating pressure values based on the avatar's mesh rather than patterns, and avoids pressure value and pressure color errors that occurred especially in the case of multi-layered clothing. In the 3D window, turn on the pressure map from the 3D toggle menu at the top left. Then simulate the clothing to activate the pressure map. Unlike the pressure map of previous versions, the intensity of the pressure map is expressed on the avatar surface. Therefore, when you click directly on the surface of the avatar, the intensity of pressure is expressed, and the area without the influence of clothing is expressed as 0. If you want to check the pressure value of the part where the clothing is located, click on the clothing while holding down the Control key on a Windows PC, as shown in the explanation added to the mouse cursor, and the pressure value applied to the avatar in that area will be displayed. On macOS, just hold down the Command key and click. In the new 2025.0 version, if the costume is pinched and pulled while the simulation is running, the color of the part of the avatar receiving force changes. If you want to know the pressure value of that part, you can check it by stopping the simulation and clicking with the Control key. We hope you will optimize your digital clothing design and fitting process by using the new and improved method to express pressure areas more reliably and improve the precision of pattern modification. In the latest version of CLO, registering shoes for CLO default avatars has become easier than ever. Previously, users had to use third-party softwares to correctly name each shoe for CLO to distinguish between the left and right side. Now, this step is no longer necessary. Let's start with the avatar. Click on the avatar menu and then select Register Accessory. In the Register Accessory window, choose the accessory type. In this case, I will select Shoes. You will then have the option to choose between flats or heels. I will select Heels. Next, click on the folder icon to import a file that contains both the right and left shoes. With the new update, CLO can automatically recognize each shoe without needing them to be named individually. Now create a selection box around the heel of your shoe. Right-click and select Set as Heels. If you make a mistake, you can right-click again and choose the option Unset Heel. Please note that the heel will be highlighted in red to indicate your heel selection. This step is only necessary for heeled shoes, as it allows CLO to automatically raise the heel when loading them. With these enhancements, users can enjoy a more streamlined and efficient workflow, making the process of registering shoes quicker and more intuitive. Now that my avatar is wearing the shoes I selected, I'd like to highlight another exciting feature in CLO 2025.0. As you can see, my avatar is currently posed and looking to the side. In previous versions, if I wanted to flip this pose to the opposite side, I had to recreate it from scratch. However, with the new update, you can simply right-click on the avatar and choose the Flip Pose option. This will seamlessly transition the avatar to the flipped pose, and the garment will be simulated accordingly. This feature allows you to experiment with various poses and easily flip them. In the new version 2025.0, now it is possible to create and edit bust cup sizes for female avatars. Let's take a look at how to edit it. Click on Avatar on the main menu and then select Avatar Editor. In the Avatar Size tab, first select Under Bust in Width. Now, within Set Details, it is possible to activate the cup size option by checking the box. By activating it, you'll be able to see the standard sizes for bust cup. You can also change the size count. The minimum is 3 sizes and the maximum is 6 sizes. In addition, it is possible to change the value of each cup size. If you want to reset to the default values, you can click the reset icon. Once you set it, you can exit the Set Details window. In the main window, now you will be able to select the cup size according to the sizes previously set. Simply click the drop-down arrow to choose what cup size you want to use. The bust cup size will then adjust accordingly. Do utilize this update to make the avatar even more realistic by creating a more precise range of bust sizes. In the previous versions, we could glue the trim to one point. In 2025.0, we have improved the interaction between trim and garment. Multiple points of the same trim can be tacked on the garment. For a more complicated trim style, we may need to glue two or more points of a trim. For this, we can use the Transform Pattern tool and click the Placement button to put the trim in ideal area near the garment. It's a simple placement without any glue. In new version, the Tack tool is compatible with trims. The operation is similar when we tack the pattern to pattern. By using the Tack tool, we can click on an initial point on the trim, then click on the desired point on the garment. The first glue group is created. The points will show in dark red color with dotted line. We can do the same to glue the second point on the trim. To do this, click on another point on the trim and click on the garment. Then glue another part of the same trim. Let's see the result when turning on the simulation. 2 points of the trim is glued perfectly on the garment. You can also tack more points of the trim if needed. To edit the tack position, please use Edit Tack tool so you can edit in 3D and 2D windows. To delete the tack, you only need to select it and click Delete on the menu. Or press Delete button so you can decide to glue a point or multiple points now depending on the trim type. In the previous workflow, we needed to import different PBR maps individually. In 2025.0, you can adopt a seamless workflow to import other PBR maps after adding a base color map. When preparing the PBR images, we need to gather all PBR map images in the same folder on the PC. Then change images names according to the file naming rule. We need to follow the image naming rule with 3 components in the order: image name underscore PBR map name, to ensure we can import all PBR maps correctly. Image name should be placed at the beginning. The name can be customized. Use the same image name to recognize that those map images are in the same group. Underscore should be placed in the middle. PBR map name should be placed at the end. The name needs to follow the chart. It affects the image import position in CLO Property Editor. For more name combinations, you can refer to the online manual. In Property Editor, we can import a base color map. Then you will see a pop-up message. You can either click Yes to add base color map and other PBR maps in Property Editor simultaneously, or click No to add base color map only. Other PBR maps in Property Editor won't be imported or updated. You can also import a new base color map to replace the existing base color map in Property Editor. The related PBR map will be added and updated simultaneously. You can also enjoy this new feature in graphic, button, and other material items. With this new feature, you can load all maps at once and enjoy the seamless workflow. The last improvement in Texture Editor is providing more image format options for saving the merged layer image. In the Texture Editor, multiple images are added. We can edit them to achieve various design outcomes. After editing and adjusting the settings, we can save the image result by clicking Save Images button. In 2025.0, users can select to export the selected image with image format in the pop-up. 3 file formats will be supported now, including PNG, JPEG, and TIFF. So you can choose the file format as per your need, especially when you are looking for a more detailed image. Users can also choose to save merged layer images. When activating the checkbox for Save Merged Layer Image, a merged layer image will be saved additionally. Meanwhile, the separated texture layer images are saved normally. When deactivating the checkbox, separate texture layer images are saved as existing rules. This is the same as the previous default saving result. By providing the new file format and saving options, we hope to enhance more flexibility for users while editing texture. In this version, we've improved the features to make it easier to identify the colorways you've created and to edit them more efficiently. We'll walk you through the improvements to the colorway feature using a garment file. Starting with this version, the Colorway Editor window can now be opened more easily and quickly using a shortcut key. Simply press the alphabet O on your keyboard to launch it instantly. Previously, you could only hover over a color chip in the object browser to see a tooltip indicating which colorway it was used in. Starting with this version, clicking a color chip will immediately apply that colorway to the garment in both the 3D and 2D windows. This allows you to quickly make edits without having to open the Colorway Editor. In addition to fabric, you can also select material color chips such as buttons or top stitches used on the garment and instantly switch them to the desired colorway. Now, in the Colorway Editor, you can distinguish between the front, back, and side surfaces of a fabric and apply color or texture changes to specific surfaces as needed. First, if you look at the body fabric color chip in Colorway B, you'll notice that, unlike other chips, it's divided into multiple sections. If the Use Same Material as Front option is unchecked in the back or side tab of the selected item, you can click the corresponding color chips in the Colorway Editor to individually edit the color and texture for the front, back, and side surfaces. As shown in the Colorway Editor, the base color maps are separated by surface. The top section displays the front surface of the fabric, the middle shows the side, and the bottom shows the back. Additionally, if only the back or side surface uses a different material from the front, only the surfaces with different settings will appear as separate color chips, just like in Colorway C. For example, in Colorway C, only the back surface is set differently from the front. So you'll see two separate color chips, one for the front and one for the back. If you want to unify the color and texture of all surfaces based on the front, simply select the fabric item in the object browser and enable the Use Same Material as Front option. You'll immediately see that the color chips in the Colorway Editor are merged into a single chip. Starting with this version, if a trim file is created with separate components, you can now apply individual colors and textures to each component. These components are displayed in a tree structure within the Colorway Editor for easy viewing and editing. When you scroll down and check the stopper item under the trim section, you'll see that it's been created with separated components. The drop-down arrow reveals individual color chips for each component. When you click a color chip, the corresponding part is highlighted in the 3D window, allowing you to change its color and texture directly. Previously, whenever you assigned additional materials to a garment with existing colorways, the settings would reset to default each time. Starting with this version, you can now preset your frequently used assign options in the user settings, making the process much more efficient. Go to the top main menu and click Settings, User Settings. Select the other tab, then go to the Colorway section to choose your preferred assign option for applying new materials. Here, I'll change it to the Link option and click the Close button to save the settings. Now, Let's check if the new Assign option has been applied correctly. In the Object Browser, go to the Fabric tab and click the Add button to create a new fabric item. Next, drag and drop this fabric onto the pocket pattern. You'll see a tooltip following your mouse cursor, indicating that the link option we just selected is active. Once you click Update, you'll see that the new fabric has been applied across all three colorways, linked as intended. Note that this Assign option will remain saved even after restarting the software. With these improved colorway features, you can now create colorway garments more easily and efficiently than ever before. In 2025.0, you can make nesting more freely. When you want to keep the nesting results of the original fabric and complete the nesting of other fabrics, there is a simpler way to achieve it. First, let's switch to the print layout. Now you can see that the checkered fabric has been nested. Generally, for checkered fabrics, after texture-based nesting, you may want to keep the current nesting result. In 2025.0, we can nest other fabrics separately. First, switch to denim fabric and adjust the nest settings. Long press the original nesting feature, and you can see that two nesting methods are currently supported: Nest All Fabrics and Nest Current Fabric. You can switch to Nest Current Fabric to nest only the current fabric. After the nesting is completed, we switch to the plaid fabric, and you can see that the plaid fabric retains the original nesting result. In addition to the above situation, this function can also help you achieve faster nesting speed when you only need to nest a single fabric for multiple garments. In previous versions, the UV editor could only display and bake the front texture of the fabric. In the new version, 2025.0, the UV editor has an extended function that can display and bake the back and side textures of the fabric. Let's take a look at how to operate it. In the UV editor window, locate the UV coordinate position of the leather fabric. In the property editor, scroll down to find UV expansion. Click on the drop-down option, and two options, back face and side face, will pop up below. Check back face, and the selected pattern will show the texture of the back of the leather fabric. Check side face, and the selected pattern will show the texture of the side of the leather fabric on the outlines. Then, select the pattern with the leather fabric applied again, separate the front texture from the back texture, and finally select all the patterns for UV packing. Next, let's bake the back and side textures of the leather fabric. In the toolbar on the right side of the UV editor window, click Bake Textures. In the pop-up Bake Textures window, set the saving path, file name, UV area, and texture type of the UV texture map as needed. Now click Save and display the saved UV texture map. If you load a file, say, in a lower version and there is no back or side information, please set back face and side face to off. Starting from this version, you can now easily create high-quality artworks by seamlessly compositing AI-generated backgrounds with images rendered in CLO. The AI background feature can be accessed by clicking Render AI Studio from the main menu. In the window that appears, click the background icon in the upper right corner to use the feature. To use the AI Avatar Studio background feature, you'll first need the background image that will be used for the background transformation. Then you'll need a target image that includes both the avatar and the garment rendered together. Let's start by rendering the target image first. Load the project file where the avatar is wearing the garment. Adjust the 3D window view to your desired angle. Then, open the render window from the main menu. To ensure the target image blends smoothly with the generated or uploaded background image, there are recommended image sizes and rendering guidelines. To check these recommendations, click the magic wand icon in the render toolbar on the right. As you can see, under the target image section, you can check example images and recommended settings. First, it is recommended to set the render image size between 2160 pixels and 4320 pixels. If the render image size exceeds 4320 pixels, it will be automatically resized to 4320 or below while maintaining the aspect ratio. If you set the image size below 2160 pixels, it is still usable. But for more natural results, it's best to use images that are at least 2160 pixels, with minimal noise and sharp quality. Second, the subject and the background must be clearly distinguishable. If the target is not properly recognized due to lighting or shadows, the result may appear unnatural. Since the quality of the target image directly affects the final result, please keep this in mind when rendering. The final result will be generated as a square image, based on the larger pixel value of the render size set for the target image. So please pay attention when setting the render size. Once you've adjusted the settings according to the recommendations, click the Final Render button to export a high-quality image. Clicking the AI Studio icon again will show that the rendered image has been automatically uploaded. By switching between the AI Studio window and the render window like this, you can immediately composite the background image onto the rendered image in real time, review the result, make adjustments if needed, and achieve the desired outcome. In the AI Studio background window, you can choose prompt or image. For the prompt option, you can either enter your desired text or select keywords to generate an image. For the image option, you can upload your own image file and use it as the background. Let's start by taking a look at the prompt method first. You can either enter a text prompt describing the background you want, or click the first icon at the bottom. Write the keyword suggestion icon to select from recommended keywords. When you select the desired keywords here, they will be added to the text prompt field. For example, if you select city, street, and industrial, you'll see that these keywords are automatically added to the prompt input field. If you want to remove the selected keywords, you can either click the close button below the prompt field or click the keyword suggestion icon again to deselect the keywords. Once the prompt has been entered, click the Generate button to create the image. Clicking the Reset icon next to the background image will reset the generated background and revert it back to the default image. Clicking the Generate button multiple times, the AI Studio background feature generates a new image each time, even when using the same prompt. However, if you want to modify the image while keeping the existing one as a base, you can activate the second pin-shaped icon, Maintain Prompt, and then add to the prompt to update the image. I'll activate the Maintain Prompt icon and add the text prompt Bright to make the background image appear brighter. After clicking Generate, you can see that the background image has been adjusted to appear brighter while still maintaining the original composition. Lastly, the dice-shaped icon can be used when you want to get inspiration for background ideas using random prompts. It automatically generates a random description for a background, helping you quickly come up with creative ideas. If you want to edit the prompt, You can either click the eraser icon at the top right of the prompt field to clear prompt, or deactivate the maintain prompt feature to make detailed changes. Also, by clicking the question mark icon on the right, you can access the AI Studio manual. By clicking the collapsed History tab, you can open the History panel on the right side and view a list of all previously generated images. You can also double-click an image to reload both the image and its associated text prompt. You can select your preferred image from the generated results, then click the Save icon at the top right to download it as a PNG file. If the image is not saved separately, the remaining history will only be retained until the close software is closed. Next, let's select the Image tab and click the Upload button to add the image we just generated. However, please note that when uploading an image, you must use one that you own or that is free of copyright issues. Once the image file has been successfully added, click the Generate button at the bottom of the window to apply it to the target image. If you want to reset both the target image and the background image, simply click the Reset button next to the Generate button to return to the default state. After confirming that the image has been successfully transformed, let's go ahead and save the image file by clicking the Save button at the bottom of the window and choose between PNG or JPG format to save the image. Please note that the final image will be saved as a square, based on the larger pixel value of the image size set during the target image rendering. If you first composite a character image using AI in the Face tab, when you move to the Background tab, the generated output image will be automatically set as the target image, making your workflow more convenient. By using the AI Avatar Studio's background generation feature, you can effortlessly create a wide range of background styles that match the garment and avatar you've designed. In 2025.0, we have EcoShot integration, which we can access for rendering garments with the model selected from our EcoShot library. First, we log into our EcoShot account and grant access. We can select whether we want to use a male, female, or kids model category. Under Avatar section, we can choose the avatar that suits our requirement. Lastly, we can select from a range of poses available. Once we have the avatar ready, we can add it to the workspace. We can see a 3D version of the selected avatar in the 3D window. Let's bring in our garment now. We can adjust the position to match the pose and simulate. We can also change the pose at this point and see which best suits our needs. In the Variants section, we have the option of adding shoes from the drop-down list of shoe options. We can see a preview of the garment on the model by clicking Preview. Once the pose is finalized and ready to be rendered, we can request for render. Once the Request button is clicked, the render gets initiated. We can see the render progress in the EcoShot Image Hub. Once the render is completed, we can download the image from the Completed section. This section has all the rendered images listed which we can access anytime. This integration opens up a new option for CLO users to render realistic on-model images for marketing and e-commerce purposes. In 2025.0, we'll be able to add custom views with different focal lengths. First, we need to switch to Custom Views under Viewpoint in the Image Properties. Now we need to create custom views. Turn on Interactive Render to get a better idea of the final image. Now under Camera Properties, turn on this Physical Camera Render Only and switch on the Depth of Field. Now change the viewpoint focus to custom views, and we'll be able to see the custom views we've added listed down here. We also need to switch on this focus by left click option. Now all we need to do is just left click in the render window, and we can see the focal distance change in the property editor. We can set the focal distance of all the custom views in the same way. This feature will help us save a lot of time while rendering and gain more control over the depth of field for each custom view. In this version, we have released a set of new features to support our users to review the 3D garment in CLO-SET. One of the main releases is the 2D pattern viewer. Same as CLO, users are able to review the 2D pattern of the 3D file via CLO-SET now. Clicking the 2D viewer thumbnail located on the left side of the 3D garment viewer window will display the 2D patterns. Same as CLO, user could change the display option from the 2D toggle bar. You can change to show the grain line and check whether all of the direction is set correctly. You can also add annotations directly in the 2D viewer to include comments or note any necessary modifications. If you don't need to use the 2D viewer, you can disable the option. Click on Settings under Company, then go to General. Here, you'll see the 2D pattern viewer is activated in the Content section. After disabling this setting, you'll notice that the 2D pattern viewer thumbnail image is no longer visible in the 3D garment viewer. The user who do not have CLO experience could also check the 2D pattern of the sample online. We have also released the 3D Quality Check tool to check the properties setting of the 3D file automatically. To use this feature, you must first activate it. Click on Settings under Company, then navigate to the Content tab and select the 3D Quality Check option. Activate this option if it is currently disabled. To check the quality of a 3D file created in CLO, you can set the criteria based on the user or company's specific requirements. For example, let's set the particle distance from 3 to 5 and specify that the garment should have reinforcement turned off. Then click Apply. For more details on how to configure the checklist and review the results, please refer to the PDF guide. Once the quality check criteria have been set, upload the 3D garment you want to run the quality check on. Click the QC icon in the content page. If the property is set under the criteria, it will be marked in green color. If not, they will be marked in red. You can click the summary icon to see which specific parts did not meet the criteria in detail. By checking the 3D garment quality in CLO-SET like this, you can streamline your workflow more efficiently. Group admins can now manage workspaces and user access more efficiently than before. The group admin can activate the permission approval in advance. In the Console tab on the left, click on Settings, then select Group Settings. From there, enable the permission approval option. Once this option is enabled, when the existing user inside the workspace invites a new user to the workspace, they have to get the approval from the group admin first in order to complete the process. For example, if an existing user invites another user as a viewer, the invited user will be marked as pre-approval. During this process, the group admin will receive a notification and proceed with the approval accordingly. To proceed with the approval, the group admin should go to the Console tab on the left. Click on User History and then select the Permission Approval tab. Under Pending Users, the admin can choose to either approve or reject the user. By using this feature, Group admins can manage user permissions and account subscriptions more efficiently. We'll be back in the next version. Thank you for watching with us for a long time.